Court has decided to fine those who file petitions in the name of public interest litigations driven by whims and with guided personal or political interests that are devoid of genuine public concerns. Good morning, I am Prarambha Dahal. Let's begin with the main stories. The coalition partner Maoist Center poised to propel ousted Finance Minister Sharma into the cabinet again. Standing committee meeting to take the final call. Prime Minister Sherbahadur Dewa's lackluster role comes to the fore as the executive head more involved in the political gambits rather than government performance. Ukraine President Zelensky orders all civilians still living in parts of eastern Donetsk region under Ukrainian control to evacuate. Ukrainian officials label Russia a terrorist state. And Liverpool land the first blow of the season on champions Manchester City when the thrilling Community Shield encounter 3-1. The coalition partner CPN Maoist Center has intensified legworks to propel the former Finance Minister Janardhan Sharma into the cabinet again. A parliamentary probe committee had given clean chit to the former Minister Sharma, who was alleged of involving unauthorized individuals in budget development. The Maoist Standing Committee meeting has the central agenda of nominating Sharma again to the post of Finance Minister or opting for some other candidate. Maoist leaders claim that the party was more likely to nominate Sharma again to the coveted position. The House had formed a parliamentary probe committee on the 6th of July following allegations of altering tax rates during the budget development on the eve of the budget announcement on the 28th of May. Sharma had resigned from the post of the Finance Minister the very same day on the 6th of July. Even before to the announcement of election dates, political forces have intensified legworks for the forthcoming poll strategy. The political parties are weighing their prospects on the basis of their performance in the last general election and the recently held local polls. The ruling parties, who have reached a mindset of contesting the provincial and parliamentary elections by keeping the coalition intact, have started discussions on various modalities of power sharing. The ruling parties are engaging themselves in analyzing the votes they received during the local level elections earlier this year. Nepali Congress has said that the delineation of seats will be based on the past performance of the respective parties. Nepali Congress, which had bagged 329 local bodies during the May elections, is working on a strategy to secure majority in the upcoming provincial and parliamentary elections. The main opposition, CPN-UML, who were second with 206 local bodies, has concluded that it needs to break the coalition partners in the upcoming election. Maoist Center, in the meantime, wants to save the coalition at any cost to keep its crucial position in the power equation intact. Prime Minister Sherbahadur Dewa's term has surpassed 1 full year, even as the Premier has reshuffled the cabinet on 7 different occasions to save the ruling coalition. He is yet to hold a single meeting regarding the performance of these ministries. The Result Management Department and the Action Room that was constructed with an investment of 60 million rupees lie non-utilized. Prime Minister Dewa, who has mainly been involved in political gambits in and outside the party, has failed to impress the general public, to say the least. Prime Minister Sherbahadur Dewa seems least bothered even as the development expenditures have nosedived while the country's economic status is reported alarming. The general activities of the Premier centers around alliance and party meetings concerning political equation. The executive head has 22 ministries and 52 different state bodies under his jurisdiction, whereas a serious time constraint on behalf of the Premier has affected the regular meetings of the ministries and other departments. The Prime Minister leads 17 councils, 9 committees, 9 universities, 8 academies, 4 commissions, 3 trusts and 4 other state bodies, as a minimum target has not been met by these government organs, which highlights the feeble role of Prime Minister Sherbahadur Dewa. The ceremonial status of the Prime Minister in many of these government entities has also added to the problem, while the Prime Minister himself has not taken responsibility to ease the situation. The Prime Minister has also not shown any concern to improve the coordination between the 3 tiers of the government. In the absence of intra-province meeting, the province representatives have been denied the opportunity to make the centre hear their grievances. It is understandable that the Prime Minister has a role to make his own decision-making capability more efficient rather than just involved in power equation. Otherwise, the Premier will find his dwindling popularity further dented. Nepal's private sector is more engaged in business rather than operating industries, citing that it is difficult to lease or buy land. This scenario has continued for the past 15 years. The government has introduced a new policy of leasing land to private sector for a period of 40 years to channel these businesses into productive sectors. The question therefore arises whether the government's new policy could help reduce the rising trade deficit. Ministry for Land Reforms, Cooperatives and Poverty Alleviation last month published the new policy regarding land registration and lease in the National Gazette. As per the ruling, private sector can lease land for 5 years under short-term project, 15 years under mid-term and 40 years under long-term projects. It is now speculated that the scenario could help reduce the trade deficit as private sector can get hold of the public land for lease up to 40 years. The foreign dependency on imported daily consumable goods, including rice and edible oil, has been on the rise in recent years. The government too is operational on the basis of a high revenue yielded from these imported products. In the face of reduced import, which the government did to impact rising trade deficit, the government's revenue target cannot be met. The scenario only calls for domestic production for the sustainable economic development by addressing the issue of trade deficit. As per the Department of Industry, 309 industries were set up in the past 12 years in Nepal. Most of these registered industries are related to service and business model. Some 8,800 industries in the country, apart from small-scale industries, have failed to meet the target of domestic production. If the issue is addressed, it can go a long way in increasing the contribution of the sector in improving the national GDP, which presently stands at 6%. In our Public Voice segment, we had asked people across the provinces what should be done to increase the production of crops. Let us now take a look at what they had to say.
Public Voice.
खेती नै गर्न पर्छ नि उब्जनी बढाउन त वस्तु पाल्न पर्यो मोलजोल पुर्याउन पर्यो खेती गर्नु पर्यो
समयमा मोल पाउन पर्यो रासायनिक मलको सहज आपूर्ति गर्नु पर्यो
बाँझो रहेको जमिनलाई चाहिँ तत्काल उपयोगमा ल्याउनु पर्छ
समयमा अगाडि सरकारले मल दिँदैन हामीले कसरी उत्पादन गर्न सक्छौं
श्रम गर्ने जनशक्तिलाई पनि तालिमको व्यवस्था गर्नु पर्यो
कृषि योग्य जमिनमा घरहरु नबनाउने
It is now time for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
The question is, what is your take on the government's decision of leasing public land at reasonable rates to productive sector? Your options are A, ploy to increase productivity, B, opportunity for employment, and C, execute the policy. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. It is now time for the sports news.
Sports News.
Nepal played defending champions India at the SAF Under-20 Championship today. The match, which will be played in Bhubaneswar, India, is slated for an 8:15 p.m. kickoff later this evening. The clash is of significance for both the teams. A win today will secure Nepal's spot in the tournament final with a match to spare, while a draw is likely to seal the spot as well. Nepal have registered clean sheets in 2 matches and are placed second in the standings with 6 points. After thrashing the Maldives 4-0 in their first match, Nepal brushed aside Sri Lanka 3-0 in the second match. According to coach Meghraj Kesi, today's match will be special for Nepali supporters. Meanwhile, hosts and defending champions, India must win today's match to keep their hopes of playing the final alive. They have 3 points from 2 matches. Having suffered a defeat against Bangladesh in the first match, India had crushed Sri Lanka 4-0 in the second match. Bangladesh are at the top of the standings with 9 points from 3 matches and are most likely to play the tournament final. Sporting academies are the foundation of quality players. If there are sound sporting academies in place, it would be the foundation of good players who can serve the nation in the long run. The football governing body in the country, ANFA, in the year 1998 introduced the concept of ANFA Academy. There was a time when majority of national players were the products of ANFA Academy. However, in the absence of clear-cut policies, ANFA Academy has failed to serve national football to the desired expectations. ANFA had selected 81 players for the academy last time around 3 years ago. The ANFA Academy is presently operational in Dharan and Butwal, while Lalitpur Savdabaro's academy has remained shut for the past 1 year. Dharan and Butwal academies too have failed to deliver desired results. Grassroots programs are considered imperative for the development of football in any country. China operates Young Football League, where millions of youngsters between the age group of 8 to 19 participate to showcase their talent. However, in the case of Nepal, there is a dearth of age group football. Likewise, private sector can play a crucial role in the development of football. However, in the face of lack of football culture in Nepal, clubs are mainly dependent on Anfa Academy to recruit their players. And now, before we wrap up, here's a look into the top stories one more time. The coalition partner Maoist Center poised to propel ousted Finance Minister Sharma into the cabinet again, standing committee meeting to take the final call. Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Dewa's lackluster role comes to the fore as the executive head more involved in political gambits rather than government performance. Ukraine President Zelensky orders all civilians still living in parts of eastern Donetsk region under Ukrainian control to evacuate. Ukrainian officials label Russia a terrorist state. And Liverpool land the first blow of the season on champions Manchester City when the thrilling Community Shield encounter 3-1. That is all for the moment. Our next English bulletin airs at 11 a.m. Thank you for staying with us. Have a beautiful day ahead.